When I was in college, my husband and I were sitting in a study lounge, and all of a sudden I had my hand on my head, and he had his hand on his head at a table, and we looked at each other, and there was like a light bridge between our eyes. And I believe in that light. That was real to me and to him, and it's kept us together all these years.
You're listening to Mr. Radio, and I'm your host, Marshall. It's the night before the Celtic Festival of Beltane, an ancient May Day ritual. This is a time when the otherworldly is right at our doorstep. Druids march, dark spirits rise in the shadows, and the brilliance of the light pushes them right back down. We've got young maidens hanging up festive boughs, while the boys are blindfolded out on the drumlins, eating ember cakes marked with charcoal. But there's always one unlucky guy who gets the stain piece and has to leap the bonfire flames 3 times just to keep the ancient tradition alive. That sets the stage for the Eve of Beltane, a mesmerizing new play by today's guest. She's an award-winning indie playwright, poet, and librettist whose avant-garde work has been produced all over the world. She holds degrees from Penn State and Carnegie Mellon, and she took home the prestigious Owen Wymark Theatre Award from the Writers Guild of Great Britain back in 2021. Critics love her highly imaginative style, even comparing her to the Twilight Zone creator Rod Serling. Beyond the stage, she's the creative force behind Airplay and Determined Women. And she's a playwright in residence at both the Manhattan Repertory Theatre and the Cosmic Orchid Theatre. With well over 40 plays to her name, her notable works include Candle Dancing, Auditioning for Eternity, and the super innovative musical Kingdom Come. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Coni Koepfinger to the show. Great to have you here, Coni.
Great to be here, Marshall.
You know, in your artist statement for the New Play Exchange, you wrote, "Creative expression through art manifestation is one way to access an act of eternal love. For if we are not creative, we will be destructive." What's the story behind that quote, and what does it mean to you?
Well, what it means to me, and I did my master's on this because I really believe that there's a way to access the process of creativity, and it's through your own instrument of your body, your mind, your spirit. And to access that spirit, we need to be in touch with the body and the mind at a deeper level. So I believe that if we're not creative, we're destructive, whether it be overeating or just gossiping, being negative. Because when you're creative, you step into your eternal divine. And when we create, no matter what we're doing, like, for example, my life as a playwright is crazy because you work years on something and then you try to get it out there. And I have a way I deal with that. While I'm waiting, I work on other things and I meet other people. But just connecting with other people, and that makes me creative. That brings out my creative force.
So it sounds like you do a lot of multitasking in your life.
Absolutely.
You know, I kicked off the show with a piece from your new project, The Eve of Beltane, and it's a haunting intro to this show. Can you describe the play for our listeners?
Sure. It's basically a retelling of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, except it takes place with a young girl that goes off to college in Notre Dame in America, and her father doesn't want her to go there. He's very myopic in terms of his understanding of the world. He's a politician in Ireland, and he wants her to stay in Ireland, and she doesn't want to. She wants to see the world. And there, she meets a professor who opens her up to the magic of life and the magic of words and understanding poetry. And he comes back with her and talks to her father, and everything is good. You know, there's some problems. She actually falls in love with a Brit, and the young boy, he's a very talented musician. She's head over heels for him, and they fall in love. And it's resolved because love conquers all. And I really believe that in a real way, real love, not what we think about love is, but what it really is. When you love somebody from your heart, I don't think anything can go wrong.
I was going to ask you about Romeo and Juliet later on in the interview, but I'll wait for that. I'm glad you brought that up. You put together quite a team for this production. You have legendary names like Mary Ellen Ashley.
Oh, hello. I'm Mary Ellen Ashley, and welcome to the Eve of Beltane, a new play, exciting new play with enchanting music that we're bringing to Broadway. We've gathered together a team of artists, writers, musicians, scene designers, directors, actors, producers. I think you will be spellbound. So come, see the Eve of Beltane with its magic, its mystery, and its love. Yes, love. Come see the Eve of Beltane, for love is what we need now.
Corey Brunish, John Hayden, and John Mello. How did this incredible creative crew come together?
I don't know. That's creativity. I just reach out and they respond. And I can't give you a method for that, but I'm trained in academics. I taught college for many years, college writing and playwriting and theater classes. And in college, you just start with day one, right? And you just say, okay, this is the syllabus. And my life is a syllabus. My life in the theater is a syllabus, and I just go each day. So, okay, today I need to reach out and find somebody, and today I need to find this guy. The internet has been great for me. But even before that, because I started a theater company when I first got out of college back in the 80s, and people come to me. When I say, here, do you want some creativity? They just come. And it's a real thing. It's a real energy. The idea of being able to create is our own. Everybody has it. And that's when you feel good about yourself, when you're creating.
You mentioned that you started a theater company right out of college. When did you first become interested in theater? Was it in college? Was it before then?
When I was 7. I started writing plays. I had really bad allergies, and I was stuck in the house a lot. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't go out. I couldn't play outside. I watched my sisters from the dining room window, and it was a proscenium for me. I mean, I watched them, made up my own stories. So it wouldn't stop me from playing, and the whole idea of play has been my entire life.
Do you remember your first play?
Well, it had something to do with, I remember in first grade, I was an angel in the nativity play. And then, I guess it was around second grade, I made a play about light, just about the light, about living the light, letting it come in, I don't know. I just, I can't remember it offhand, but it had something to do with the light being in you.
Well, let's go from light to the music in Eve of Beltane. You teamed up with songwriter and guitarist Joe Eisen. How did he get involved with the Eve of Beltane as your composer and lyricist?
It was sort of a dark time for me. I don't stay in the dark too long, but I remember Joe Eisen had a group on LinkedIn called Why Does Broadway Always Do the Same Old, and Why Don't They Create New Work? And I joined that group. It was called Disgruntled Artists of the 21st Century. And so Joe and another Joe Kelly, and I teamed up together and said, let's write a new play. And so we started writing Singularity, which turned into Kingdom Come. And while we were waiting, Joe Kelly took ill, and we were waiting for him to do his part. We didn't want to rush him. While he was waiting, we wrote Eve of Beltane. I was goofing around, and I said, send me your catalog, because we would send each other our work back and forth. And I said, send me some of your music, and I want to see what I can do with it. So I wrote, as a joke, I wrote a play called Ivan the Wonderful, like Ivan the Terrible. And he sent it back to me, and he said, this is terrible, but I like this opening scene, and I used the Eve of Beltane as an opening scene. And that's how the play started.
Why don't we take a listen to the theme from the Eve of Beltane? Do you want to set it up for our listeners?
Sure. The scene was the scene from the past where the two young lovers are forbidden to be together. And the father's henchmen decided to put an end to this. And they were going to just scare them. They were supposed to scare them, but they ended up hanging them for real. And this is like 200 years prior to when the play starts. So they come back again. And that's why the line in the song is, "You'll always be my bride." Because love never dies. Love is very special. Yeah, and in the play, I reference my own life. Because when I was in college, my husband and I, freshman year of college, were sitting in a dorm study lounge, and all of a sudden I had my hand on my head, and he had his hand on his head at a table. And we looked at each other, and there was like a light bridge between our eyes. And I believe in that light. That was real to me and to him. And it's kept us together all these years. I'm still married to my husband. And like I said, it's just amazing how I use that reference of life with Jenny and Johnny, the two lovers in the play. But you have to, Mamet says, write what you know. And so all my experiences prompt my work. And that's what Eve of Beltane resonates of the reality of love.
All right. Here is the theme from Eve of Beltane.
It's said that lantern glows each first of May. When the Beltane fires burn and the maidens have their sway, love will not be barred from hell or from churchyard on the eve of Beltane. So let's light the tarnished lantern, but take care no one's in sight, lest we swing like two who perished that sad night. Beyond the reach of time, you hear me call your name. Our love won't be denied. You'll always be my bride on the eve of Beltane. I'll take you in my arms. Our love will live again. Our spirits will be free from that hangman's tree on the eve of Beltane. Wait for me. Wait for me on the eve of
That was a theme from the Eve of Beltane, co-written by my guest, Coni Koepfinger. I got it right this time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
What are your plans for your cast?
Right now we're in funding mode, so we have to find, we got some seed money, and we'll cast after we find a place. We have to find a place and a producer.
And what's involved in doing that?
The first thing is to find a producer, and then the producer sets that all up. Once we get a producer, then we hire a director, and then the director will set up auditions and cast the show.
You do this all by yourself, or do you have assistants?
No, the producer would do that. The producer will hire a production manager, and the production manager, so I don't know. I'm talking to theaters. I'm talking to regional theaters all around the country, in North Carolina, in Connecticut, all over the country. Just to see a theater, what we need to do now is line up with a theater to give us a out-of-town run. We had a workshop production in New York several years ago, right before COVID, in fact, and we were going to have we had a meeting in January 2020 and had a nice team of fundraising set up, and then all of a sudden, the world changed. Mm-hmm. Broadway closed.
I'd like to play a promo clip that James Scheider produced for you. Would you like to tell me a little bit about James Scheider?
Yes, he actually is still involved. Last year we did a promo at the East Durham Irish Festival, and he played the lead. He played his part of Johnny, and he's still involved. Wonderful, wonderful Broadway singer, songwriter. And while waiting, again, James and I wrote a children's show called Jack Beyond the Beanstalk. So he's still very involved in this, and that's a wonderful little song. That's one of his short songs. And this song is in the play when Jenny and Johnny first meet outside of the classroom. Something magical happens in the classroom where Jenny is reading a poem and all of a sudden gets choked up by the reality of it. And Johnny comes out of nowhere and starts finishing what she's trying to read. And that brings the two together very spontaneously. And then after class, she trips on the steps, drops all her books, and he catches her. So they come together in reality again. Then he sings to her. And he has his guitar on his back, and he, just pulls it around and gives her a little love song.
Well, here's James performing Jenny. I mentioned that I was going to talk about Romeo and Juliet, but you already beat me to that. But is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Are you a Shakespeare fan?
I love Shakespeare, yeah, and I studied with one of the best masters, A. Fred Sokotov. He was a scholar on Shakespeare, taught all around the world, professor emeritus, and I studied with him privately at Carnegie Mellon.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about the music. And there's one song that really jumped out at me, I'll Fight for Love. Would you like to introduce it? Because I'd like to play it for you.
Okay, sure. There's an altercation at the table that's in the promo clip with Mary Ellen Ashley, and Jenny runs out. Johnny goes to run after her, and her father's henchman, again, his lackey, is it's in the 21st century now, or the 20th century now, and her father's right hand stops him and was going to, he says, would you like me to take out the trash, meaning beat him up? And the father says, no, let him go, but get out of my house. And he said, so then that song comes out of that, where he says, old man, I'll fight for love. I love your daughter. I'm sorry. I'll fight you for this.
So let's listen to I'll Fight for Love. Like I mentioned earlier, critics love comparing your avant-garde style to Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone. How do you feel about that comparison? Did his work influence you when you were starting out?
Absolutely. My whole life, when I was a teenager, that's all I ever watched. My mom and I watched Twilight Zone. And, I just, it's one of the first things I ever watched. Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock. I love stories that ask questions about reality.
Unfortunately, I love The Twilight Zone, but the only person that will watch it with me is my son. I can't get anyone else to watch it with me. But I agree, Twilight Zone is something else. You mentioned Arthur, the boy who would be king, and your collaboration with C. Michael Perry. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Several years ago, I started, again, while in the waiting game, waiting for a production to go off. I have several works published with C. Michael Perry's Leicester Bay Theatricals and Next Stage Press. And while I'm getting things out there, because once you get it out there with a publisher, then it gets a wider range of people that may pick it up. Michael Perry and I started talking, and he asked me to come on board to help him with some of the scripts that he had been working on. He's also a playwright and a composer. And so we've developed a canon of over 12 scripts that we've worked on, my work and his work, and we put them out there on, we started it, he built a production company called Productions, Koepfinger Perry Theatricals Productions, and these productions are all listed on his website at his theatrical agency.
Why don't we take...
And this is one of them. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And Arthur, the boy who would be king, is a fascinating look at the Arthur legend from a boy. When he was a boy, he was cultured by Merlin. And so this is, Michael wanted to develop this from that point of view, not with all the fighting and all the... there's a few fight scenes in there, but it's a beautiful play about the reality of knowing your destiny. And Merlin had to coach him to be king. So it's the boy who would be king.
And you sent a demo, If That Is Not a Father. Can you just
Correct.
Introduce that for us before we play?
Sure. That's when Arthur asked, "Who is my father?" And he says, "You're my father, aren't you?" And he said, No, I'm not your father. You're going to meet your father." And he says, "You've done this, you've done that, you've helped me all along for all these years growing up. You answered all my questions. You taught me to see the dragon, to, how to do all these things. If that is not a father, then what is?" So that's where the song comes from.
Let's listen to If That Is Not a Father.
You've cared for me and shown me things, what magic brings and ancient kings. You've seen me safe a dozen times, so many rhymes, so many crimes. Have you lied to me, holding back the truth? Something's died in me. I feel that it's my youth. I don't know what to say. You had better think of something. For the first time, words are failing me. I don't know, that feels all too well, I know. But you needed to know. And the time was right. You have always said that I would know everything when the time was right. When a boy asks, the time is right. I'm sorry I lost my temper, Father. I'm not. You've taught me who I could be, everything I should be. If that is not a father, I don't know what it would be. Those magic trips on sailing ships through time and space. Then with a word I was a bird, how I would race. I've never known that magic was anything but real. Why were you blessed with magic? What gives it its appeal? You've taken me, an ordinary boy, and gave me worth. You've given me, a boy without a home, a second birth. Why was I blessed? I guess I'm not so ordinary after all. You've made a bold and brave me, and when I erred, forgave me. If that is not a father, God save me.
While I was getting ready for our chat today, I wasn't sure if I should ask if artificial intelligence has influenced your work, but then I read about Wilbur's New Wife, which you co-wrote with Matt Matthews. And it felt like the perfect bridge. Looking back at that project and looking at where we are today, has AI actually played into your creative process? I know you mentioned technology earlier has helped you, but what about AI?
Well, I spent 25 years working and teaching and doing things at CMU, and I was Carnegie Mellon, and I was constantly surrounded with robots. They had always that going on, and my husband is an engineer and you know, is very futuristic in terms of understanding. You know, I was always surrounded by computers. So it's very natural for me to know that this is the next step of our evolution. But when we were working on, the way I develop my plays, and I love this about the 21st century because it's very costly to go into New York City and find a place to read. Of course, the Dramatists Guild Foundation offers free spaces, but you can imagine how many people have to sign up for that, and you have to sign up months in advance. When I want to read a play, I go online. I have my own Zoom, and we go into my Zoom, and I grab actors. Matt was one of those actors. He's out in the West Coast, and we became very close by working on different shows together. He's done several. And when we started Wilbur's New Wife, we did it for a festival called the Rogue Theater Festival. And they had a virtual component. So I thought, oh, let's take advantage of this. So we did this. While we're developing the script, Matt, the script is about a woman and a man, a couple, married couple, and the guy finally gets a show on Broadway, but he's nervous about it. He's kind of a nervous type in general, and his wife gets an offer from a tech company out in California, in Silicon Valley. So she has to leave, and he's really upset about his wife leaving him. He doesn't know how to even make toast, and so she sends him a robot, and this robot is a girl. It's a half-breed, a half human, half robot, and it looks human, and so she sends her this assistant. And this assistant, Goldie, because she looks like Goldilocks, is sent in the mail, and all of a sudden he starts getting jealous about it because she's doing everything. And meanwhile, his director, he's writing this play for Broadway, and his director starts saying that, Goldie's a really good assistant. Maybe Goldie can help you with some of the scenes. Well, it's interesting because Matt, who's a tech guy too, he's an actor and a director, and he says to me, why don't we use actual ChatGPT? And I said, wow, okay, let's do that. And I said, I'm not sure, and this was a couple years ago now. And he said, let me work on that. So there was a scene in the play where the director in the play asked the playwright, let's ask Goldie to revise the scene. And so we had ChatGPT revise the scene within the play with real. We gave it the dialogue that Wilbur wrote, and we gave it the scene, and then I said, write it like Tennessee Williams, write it like Edward Albee, write it like Shakespeare. And so they took my scene that I wrote, and they did it. And Matt had him do that, and that's when Matt came on board with me as a writer. I said, help me flush this out because this is going to be massive. So I used the robot in the play as ChatGPT, or maybe I said that backwards. Use ChatGPT as the robot, but it's real ChatGPT before I even knew about it. And this was like in 22, I think, 2022, and I didn't even know what it was. And so Matt integrated it into the script, and it was fabulous. And in the play, the playwright gets jealous. Well, guess what? In real life, I got jealous because I thought, wow, they can take my work and just revise it like that? You know, it was very cool. To me, it was cool. But then I was like, wow, that's really good, you know? So,
Do you edit what ChatGPT creates for you after it's been created?
yes, we had to integrate it into the play and make it sound natural and all that. It's very artificial.
So that it doesn't have the artificial voice.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
We're coming close to the end of our talk, but where could our listeners go to follow your journey and keep up with your work?
I have a website called Theater of the Awakened Dream, and all my work is logged there, and next steps and what I've been working on. And right now I'm working on a musical version of a play that I did in Manhattan at the Gene Frankel Theater. It won an award, and then it was developed as a full-length play in off Broadway. And now I found a composer, wonderful composer, Matthew A.C. Cohen, and Matt and I have just embarked on the very beginnings of this play as a musical.
Well, break a leg on that. And
Thanks.
Coni, I'm so glad you could hang out and chat with me today. And I'd like to come full circle and close things out with another piece from the Eve of Beltane called And We Won't Be Home Till Morning. I'd also like to thank you for dropping by, and I really hope to have you back on the show sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Mr. Radio, and I'm your host, Marshall. This program was written and produced by Marshall. Our theme music was played by Ululation. Mr. Radio is available wherever you get your podcasts, including iTunes and Spotify. Subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Mr. Radio.